Thanks for listening to the Revival Today podcast with evangelist Adalis Shuttlesworth. To stay connected, check us out on Facebook and Instagram or online at revivaltoday.com. Now, here's evangelist Adalis.
Here in Pittsburgh, it's like 40 degrees outside. What happened to the spring? I don't know, but I'm cold. So we're continuing this part of testimony time. Welcome to all my listeners on the podcast. It's been a while. Hope you guys are doing well in the quarantine. Hope you guys are keeping busy, working out. What was that about, Max?
I've been planning on working out for the past 6 weeks. Huh?
Nick's like, I gotta set this gym back up.
I know. Well, let me know when it's set up so that I can actually use it. Because,
I was on my bike yesterday, just working out. Spring is social distancing. I guess so, Nikki. People are going crazy out there. But anyway, we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the power of your testimony. So all of you that are listening to this podcast, God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. And if you've yet to subscribe to this, my Emma! Didi Emma!
Oh, please. Good Lord.
Didi!
So sorry.
I have to do that every time I see a family member. I have a lot of cousins. Y'all don't know this about me, but I am Puerto Rican. And I got... just on my mom's side, my mom has 14 siblings. Y'all do the math on that. What's up, Jaden? Y'all do the math on it. We got 98 first cousins. I'm not joking, Pat. I'm not playing about this. We got a lot of people in our family, and Titi Emma, she's my auntie. So, Titi Emma, Titi Jolly. Didi, bendición. Didi Jolly. One thing I miss about Massachusetts is Titi Emma's beans. Yo, front and play. Anybody that's on this, you don't know, and I feel sorry for you, but if you live in Framingham, Massachusetts, I would say stop by my aunt's house, Titi Emma. She can cook up some beans like you don't even know was possible. Jeanette from Brandon, Florida was good. Titi! So anyway, we're talking about testimony. It's testimony time here at this podcast. I don't know what episode this is, but I wanted to get on here because we've got a lot of people who are part of this team, and I wanna hear everybody's take on what the Lord has done in their life. And we listened to Rachel, which if you haven't, and you know of somebody that's battling with any kind of addiction, she was set free from meth and heroin. She didn't just smoke the meth. She was injecting that bad boy. And also heroin. So I just want to encourage you, anybody who's listening, and you might feel like, man, what in the world? How can I get out of this? That was a hair. I might sneeze. Hold on. No, I'm not gonna. How can I get out of this addiction? I want you to go back and listen to Rachel DaCosta's testimony. We have it available on YouTube. And then this morning, we were talking with Patrick Franz. And he's the director of our finances here at Revival Today. And his take, how he could have easily said, you know what, my mother, who was on the mission field, died of cancer, believing that God would heal her. That could have messed anybody up. And he said, you know what? That's no longer an excuse for me not to live for the Lord. And he made a choice to seek God, seek his voice, and be transformed by him. The Holy Spirit, he was baptized in the car ride by himself. I didn't know that. And his life was never the same. So I'm telling you, your testimony is significant. Tell it, share it to somebody, because people need to know what you've gone through, because they can relate. I'm telling you, there's people that are watching right now that are like, you haven't people just don't know how bad I've had it. And there's some people that you can relate to. Marianne! Some people that you can relate to. And so I want to encourage you. Tell somebody about Jesus. It's time. There's no more time. It's time. There's no more time. It's time for you to share your testimony, because really Jesus is coming back. Él viene. Él viene. Él viene. El Señor viene. So be prepared. Pray. Oren. Jay Ortiz, is that our Jay Ortiz? Max? That's Jay Ortiz? Rep what? Rep 95. Oh, yes, right. Because he's, sorry. He's, Jay is saying hashtag 95 because there's 95 first cousins in my family. So, yeah, he's part of that family, apparently. So, yeah, I can't help it, Nikki. I got some family members up in here. I got to shout out to my family over in the 508, the 617. So anyway, what's up with my hair? Let me just zhuzh this up because pobrecita, mira, no se peinó. Okay. So anyway, thanks, Courtney. We're talking today to Little House in the Prairie. Listen, welcome to the show. This is Sara Vidulich. Okay, what's your maiden name? Sara
Harmon.
Sara Harmon. And so I don't really know your testimony. I hate to say it. But in my head, I'm thinking that you were raised in Canada in some cottage. You milked the cow, churned your own butter.
Oh, Lord.
Huh? Because I don't know, when I think of Canada, I think of rural, hillside. I don't know, because I know Montreal is Canada and it doesn't look anything like that. But in my head, I just think, she's like that kind of a Canadian. And so I want you to share not only your testimony, but you just came out with a book.
Yes.
Stand Before Kings. I have not read it, so I'm not going to stand up here and be like, oh, this is a fantastic book. I have not read it yet, but thank you for the copy.
Yes.
And I want you to get into that. I want you to promote your T-shirts, and you have a podcast, which is phenomenal. So introduce yourself and what you do for the ministry first and foremost.
So my name is Sara Vidulich, and I am an editor here at Revival Today. I like to call myself the assistant media director, but Ram reminds me assistant to the media director.
Right.
So
that's good. Keep you humble.
There's that. I'm actually not from Canada. I've only lived there for about 2 years. But Kofi insists on blaming everything.
Falling, crashing down.
Yo. How you
I'm gonna
gonna
tell
say
you.
I'm from Canada? Where are you?
She lived there for like 2 years.
Who said that? I thought she lived there her whole life, born and raised.
No, Kofi he doesn't let me get off with that, because he'll say, you're from Canada.
Yeah.
You were born in Canada. You're from Canada. And I'm like, Kofi, I only lived there for 2 years. I was only a permanent resident for maybe 6 months officially. And then I moved back.
Dang.
But,
You're from Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Pensacola, Florida.
Well, good news.
And moved around.
So you're a
good
U.S. citizen.
Yeah. I have a U.S. passport.
I'm really sorry.
No, that's okay.
I feel horrible. Okay, tell me more about yourself.
So, born and raised in Pensacola, Florida. And I lived there until I was about 10. And my mom, so I grew up in church. My mom got saved when I was 3. She actually got saved in the Brownsville revival.
Oh.
So that was where she grew up Baptist, but that was where she became saved. And she's like, all right, we're going to go to church every Sunday. But when she first hit it, it was hard.
I'm sorry. I just had to do that because someone said, stop yelling. But you know what, Julie, it's my show and you don't even know how to spell my name. So moving forward, go ahead. Yeah. So she
But it did to us.
I've never heard this one before, but go for it.
So when she first got saved, it was she believed in no makeup, skirts only. Yeah, like very like
UPC.
modest, very
UPCP,
very.
UPCC.
So like when I, on Wednesday nights I was allowed to wear pants to church, but like Sundays it was like and even like to this day she still holds a little bit, even though she's like let that go. She's still like, why are you wearing jeans to Sunday morning? And like even as like an adult, I'm still like, no, I can't wear that on Sunday morning.
Serious, that's so funny.
Yeah, that was like my upbringing, and then she like kind of like phased out of that. But so then when I was 9, growing up, like my mom was the one that was like the spiritual like leader in our family, because my dad was like he believed, but he never like went to church or anything like that. So it was always like she was like, it was me and her in the car Sunday mornings to church and back, and then Wednesday nights to church and back, and he just kind of like stayed back unless it was Easter or Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was just kind of how things were. And then when I was 9 years old, my dad passed away in the middle of, well, sort of like my mom was out at a meeting, and then it was him, myself, and my little brother. So I have one biological brother and then one half sister. So he passed away. So she came home, and like everything was normal, but she was like really mad because he didn't like feed us dinner. And so she went into the bedroom to like yell at him, and he was like gone. And so that was like, my brother, he was only, I think 4 at the time. So he didn't really know like what was going on, but I kind of knew, I had like a better understanding of everything. And
How old
so
were you?
9.
I was 9.
9.
So almost 10. So like, but I was like raised to kind of be like, I want to say like be an adult from like a really young age, because even at that age, like I was like raising my brother and like cooking for myself, like very independent. Like my mom taught me to, because I was homeschooled. So she was like, today's lesson is you're going to go to the grocery store at like 7 years old. She's like, you're going to go to the grocery store. You're going to pick out what you're going to cook for dinner. And like, I would have to go and like shop and like come home and cook.
Wow.
And like have dinner. So it was like, that was just how
it was.
she taught me. Yeah. So, I might not have known how to spell my middle name till I was like 9 years old.
You could cook.
But I could cook a can of corn like nobody's business. So it was, so that was in November, I think of 06 or 07. And then, so my mom, like she was dealing with all that, becoming like a single parent now. And then she, some family like offered her to help like pay for the house and like the mortgage and help with all the bills if she like would like vow to not remarry. And I mean, she was 34. So I mean, she was still like really young.
Yeah.
And so they were like,
heck?
yeah, they were like, I'll take your mortgage. But like, they kind of just wanted her to, become like a shut in and just kind of like draw the blinds and live at home. And
That's kind of cray-cray.
so she was like, no, like I'm going to get remarried. And so, she signed up for eHarmony after all of her friends like convinced her to do it, because she like didn't know anybody like where we lived. And it was crazy because she set like which I mean, like thinking back on it now, I'm like, you're like insane, because I watched so many Forensic Files, right? I'm like, you're literally so insane. So she set like her radius of like the people she wanted to meet like within like 50 miles or like 100 miles or something like that. And she got matched up with my dad now, who lived in Illinois at the time. And he had just was recently divorced. And so my dad passed away in November. She met him the end of February, March time. And so he had just finalized their divorce. So he had 3 kids. She had 2 kids. And so they matched up on eHarmony, and he was like, yeah, I'm a pastor and I live here in Illinois and I work and I have my kids, and like they just got to know each other. And then a month later they got married.
A month later?
Yeah, a month later from like talking in March to April 7th they got married. They just celebrated 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really wild, because like at that time I was still really young, but I had like told people, I'm like, if my mom gets remarried, I'm not calling him dad and I'm not changing my last name, because I didn't know, like I just thought like that's what you had to do, like if you're like doing that. But then
Which I'm
it
sure
was
the trauma of losing a dad and then heading right into another kind of like paternal figure was daunting.
it was, and then plus like going from just being my brother and I to 3 siblings, going from the house I lived in for 9 years. Like we never moved, like when it was just us. Like we stayed, it was like that was gonna be the house. And then we moved to like Illinois. Like I didn't even know, homeschooled, I didn't even know where Illinois was on the map. And so my aunt, and like that was the thing, is like my mom dropped me, and she dropped me off at my aunt's house. And she said, I'm going to a wedding in Tennessee. I'll be back. And she did. And then she took like a turn to Illinois to go meet him. And she didn't tell me that. And so when she's like, my aunt called me into the room and she said, Sarah, you need to sit down. She said, you're not going to believe this. Your mom done went and got married. And I said, oh, she said, yeah. And they're driving down now to come get you. And you're going to move to Illinois. And I was like, what the heck? I was like,
That's major.
I was like, oh, okay. She said, no, Sarah, here's Florida. Here's Illinois. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, but then it was so, because like, I remember even 2 weeks leading up to that, my mom like introduced me to him like over the phone. And she's like, cause there was no like FaceTime or anything like that. She's just like handed me the phone. She's like, here, you want to talk to him and stuff. And I like, they weren't married, but I had like called him dad. I was like, I love you, Dad. Have a good night. You know, I was like telling him good night. And they were like talking about getting married or whatever. Right. And he like, I mean, he's a softie, but like he was crying. And I like that kind of like broke in me of like, I'm not having another dad. Like I'm not calling anybody dad. Like they weren't even married yet. I was like, love you, Dad. And so it was like, totally like the Lord, because even when we came together, like his kids called my mom, and then we always called him dad, and we always called like, this is my brother, this is my sister, and like we never used the word step, like this is like, it was never like, that's my stepdad. So it's always hard to like explain like to people that my dad died, because I never like talk about him being my stepdad, and they're like, what? And then like they see family photos and they're like, oh, you and your sister look so much alike, you could be like twins. And we're just like, we're not even like related. Like we don't even come from the same like bloodline, you know. But it was like,
did you get along with the kids, or did you like hate their guts?
It took a minute, because I had to share a room with my sister. Okay. And so for me, that was like something new, because I went from like being on my own, like independent, like, you know. And I remember that too, because like that was the time that, you know, when we moved, I gave her like all of my like stuff, like all of my toys, like dolls, Barbies, whatever it was that I had. I'm like,
she's younger or older than you?
She's younger. She was 4 years younger than me. Okay. So she was like 6. Mm-hmm. And I like gave her everything. I'm like, this is child's play. I'm the big sister now. I'm the adult. You can have I won't play with this anymore. Like I have to be like the adult. And so it was like, I gave her all of that. And then it was and we like moved around a bit through like growing up through that. But it was weird, because he was a pastor. So then I like overnight became like a pastor's kid. So like I didn't know what that was gonna like bring with being like a pastor's kid, and like seeing ministry from that side, versus going from like, you know, having a dad that like never really like got into all of that, to like now I have a dad who's like,
side note,
you know.
I just did the math on this. So your mom is going to be celebrating 13 years.
They just did.
They just celebrated 13 years.
This month.
I am going to be celebrating with Abel 12 years this summer. So 12 years ago, you were 9, 10 years old?
How old am I? 23.
Yeah.
So 13, 14 years ago. Well, it might have been 06 that they got married in the beginning of 07.
Yeah. Yeah. That's bonkers. Wow. I look really young then. So,
but I had turned 10 like in January. So I mean, there's like that extra year.
That's crazy pants.
But
okay, so now you are traveling, you are with a new family, and where does it go kaput? Where are you like, I'm gonna do my thing?
15.
15?
I'm telling you, 15 is
15.
I don't know. I don't know about
15 was when most people went crazy, or they found the Lord and were totally
You're right. You're
changed.
so right. That's a really pivotal. That's a really pivotal time in like somebody's life where if you could either launch into what God has called you to do or take years trying to get back to where you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So we were living outside of Chicago.
But now, mind you, you're a pastor's kid. What do you think about the whole ministry aspect?
At first I didn't mind. But then around like when I turned 14 and 15 is when it was like, because I felt like everything I wanted to do, oh no, you can't do that because we're the pastors. And so it's like, oh no, we can't do that because we're the pastors. Like, you're the pastor's kids. You have to set the example. Like, you know what I mean? Because like at that age,
room
like
for error, everybody puts you on a pedestal. You
right,
can't do anything wrong. You can't be funny.
Yeah,
you
you
can't. Be
can't. None of that.
appropriate.
It's like you couldn't do that because like the church, like basically like we reflect them, and people would say like, oh well, you can't, you know, like because my parents always like wanted. They never wanted people to be like, oh, well, you can't control your own kids, so how are you going to help me control mine? And so it was like, and so we felt that even like more because it's like, you know, but then at the same time I'm like 14. I don't know what I'm like, what's going on or anything like that. So it was very different because like, even though we were in church and stuff, it wasn't like I was like, even though I grew up knowing like about heaven and hell and I accepted the Lord into my life and I like grew up in church and stuff, I hadn't had that moment where it became real to me. It was kind of like I was just riding off of like my parents' salvation and basically like deciding like, okay, well, you know, my parents wouldn't like this, so I'm not going to do it. Not like from a relationship.
Right.
And then from that point, it was kind of like I didn't have like that revelation. So it was like, I can just kind of do what I want. And so at 14, just about to turn 15, I had talked my parents into letting us go to a public school for 1 year and just to see how we liked it. Cause I had only been homeschooled my whole life.
Yeah.
And they were like, all right, that's fine. You guys want it. That's fine. Bus will be here at 5 a.m. like you guys can have it. And from that, like it didn't, I'm not going to say it was the worst thing I could have ever done, but I wasn't like spiritually strong enough. So like when I got around like unsaved kids at that age, it wasn't like I was going to be like the spearhead that like,
right.
I'm going to bring you to, even though I brought them like, hey, you guys should come to my youth group and like, or like, no, I can't go to that party this weekend because like my parents are going to say no. Like, you know, like even though it was like that, I still like went off course of where I was supposed to be. And so I asked my mom for a boyfriend and she said no. So I got a boyfriend and that was where it all went off track because we had been, and like he was really young, I was really young. And like, I think we were like dating for like a month before I even found out he was on probation and stuff. And so
Mercy.
So like, I was like, well, I didn't know that. So I know my mama doesn't know that. He got caught with drugs at school and stuff. Okay. And so I was like, well, my mom don't even know like that. And so like, Mom, if you're watching, I'm sorry. So but like, that was it that like spiraled out because like, I was like invested and I was like, this is going to be it. Like, and
I'm going to
we're going to get married and all this stuff. And like, so I went through like a lot because I was raised to like know what like a godly relationship was. Right. Like, you know, like this is your person, you're like committed, you're submitted, you're whatever. And so like to me, it was like a very serious like relationship. And so not for him. Yeah. So like I went through a lot of like that and then
and he wasn't saved.
He wasn't saved at all. No. And so there was like we went through like that school year and at that same time like I grew up very like introvert. I know that's like hard to believe. But I grew up very introvert and so like but like believe it or not like way worse like, because when people tell me now, like, I'm super quiet, like, I laugh because I'm like, you have no idea, like, how much worse it used to be. Like, I couldn't look at people. I couldn't, like, talk to people. Like, I couldn't look at people in the eye. It was like,
when did that change?
So that changed
Public school?
that changed when that changed at 18. Because, so I went, I was 15, almost 16 at this time. I was 15. We finished out that year of public school. My mom like saw like how detrimental that guy was in my life and stuff. So before the school year even ended, she told me we're moving to Florida to go play Disney World while because my dad worked in the oil field, and so he was in a 6-month contract. She said, so while he finishes that out, we're all going to move and go to Disney World, get season passes, and we're going to live there. And I was like so heartbroken because I'm like, I don't want to do a long distance. Like, I'm supposed to marry. I'm not like, what are you talking about? And then later she told me that was specifically so we would break up. Because she knew, like, she moved our whole family. Because she knew. She's like, you're not going to last, like, you're not going to last when you're long distance. And sure enough, we didn't. We lived probably like 2 more months. And then I was like, all right, I'm over this. Yeah. And so we moved to Kissimmee. And my mom was like, we're going to go check out this church that your dad, like, knows about. He knows, like, the pastor there. And we're going to go check it out. And it was the river. And so my mom would drive an hour, and I loved it. I loved like the youth group there. I loved like, everything about it. And so my mom would drive me every week an hour to the river and back, just so I could like be a part of that youth group. And that was where that was the moment for me where I was like, this is it. Like, I'm saved. I want to live for the Lord. Like, baptized in the Holy Spirit, like speaking in tongues, like, all out, like, this is it. Like, I was, like, got rid of everything that reminded me of like my past, like everything. And so, we did that. And then when we, like, I think probably 9 months later, my mom's like, we're moving to Canada because she wanted to live somewhere different.
Wow.
And so we moved there. And then at the same time, it was like, I felt like, looking back, I think it was like, I didn't develop myself enough, like, spiritually to like withstand. Cause when we moved away, I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, I'm going to like be the Christian. I'm going to be like,
and in
love
that kind of an atmosphere, it's very easy.
Yeah, it was. And then when we moved, and it was like the church there, like, we moved up there for my parents to start a church. And the pastors that were up there said, yeah, you should come start a church here. We'll even help you. We'll be like sister churches. And then we moved up there, and the pastors told my parents, yeah, I don't think we should open any more churches. We should just focus on filling the churches we have now, and like backed out. And so it was like my parents, like, we were renting like hotel conference rooms. And there were some Sundays it was like we showed up and it was like only our family and stuff. So it was like,
wow,
they were like ready to go, but like other people were backing out. So then, finished out, by this point I was probably almost 18, I think 17 or 18. And, lived in Canada for like a year or two at this point. And then, my dad had always told me, though, when we moved there, he said, cause like I was ready to be married at like 17.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this is it. Like, I'm gonna, like I've seen it. And I'm like, and then I went to the river, and I'm like, there's Christians out there. I know it. Like, I know it. And so like, I was like ready. And my dad had told me when we moved, he said, Sarah, like, your husband's not here in this city, like where we lived. He's like, he's not here because the city we lived in was like in the middle of nowhere. And there was only like maybe 2 churches in the whole of like 100,000 people.
Wow.
So he's like, he's not here. He's like, so when you're ready, my husband's on. So this, he's like, so when you're ready, you let me know. Like, when you're ready to meet someone, you let me know, and I will send you somewhere to go meet him.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And so that was kind of like in the back of my mind, I think he said that for like a year. He's like, when you're ready, you let me know, I'll send you to go meet someone. And so there I'd kind of like fallen off of, I wanted that relationship with God. I wanted to be, in the ministry or like do something with the ministry, but I didn't like, know how, and I wanted it, but it was like something was like holding me back.
Yeah.
And so then I had met someone else there, and because like I had worked, and then I was trying to figure out like, do I want to go to Bible college? Do I want to go into the oil industry like my dad and work in the oil field? And I did that for a couple months, and
You did. Of course you did.
I did that for a couple months to see how I liked it and stuff, and it wasn't for me. So but then at that point, which this was crazy because I was 18, almost 19. It was in December, and I had been seeing someone else for like a couple like months. But I knew like I knew like this isn't the guy for me or anything like that. And you know, because he was all messed up, he wasn't saved, and he said he was like, he's like, I want to be saved and like all this stuff, and his dad was a pastor, and but he was like psychotic. So I like got to this point where I like wasn't living for the Lord, and I was like, no, but I want this. And I remember telling my dad, I was thinking to myself, like, you know, why waste so much of my life like trying to find somebody that isn't even gonna like, it's not gonna benefit me or anything like that. Like, why not just like get serious with the Lord? Like, Lord, like, I want a life. I want to start a ministry. I want to be this person. And so it was December, and I was 18, and I sat my dad down, and I told him, I said, Dad, I need you to send me away. Because he knew I was with this guy.
Yeah.
My mom knew I was with this guy, but at the same time I was like, they didn't know what to do. Like, because they can't like be like, you have to break up with him. Because I'm like, I'm 18. You know what I mean? Like they didn't want to like jeopardize like our relationship, but at the same time they're like, you need to do something else with your life. And so, I just like that was like my moment where I like hit rock bottom, basically, where I was like I wanted to have a relationship and with the Lord and like an actual relationship. And so I told my dad, I was like, I need you to send me away. And he said, all right, I'll send you wherever you want. He's like, you want to go to the river for a little bit and try out, like, see what you think about going to school there and stuff. And literally within 3 days, they had me on a plane. That was Christmas. And they had me right after, the day after New Year's, they had me on a plane to go. And they had it arranged where I was going to go and live with someone for a month, who at the time was Krista Jones, but now Krista Yesta, Pastor Krista.
Yeah.
So I lived with her for a month just to go to be in that environment, be at the school, see what it was like, see if I wanted to go. And at that same time, so like Mike and I like matched up timelines, and that same December, he was with some other girl that he wasn't supposed to be with, and the Lord told him, like around that same, like I don't know if it was like 2 days before Christmas or 2 days after Christmas, but like that same time, the Lord had like told him, you need to leave or else. Like he audible voice.
Yeah.
He's like, leave or else. And the Lord told him that 3 times. And then he broke up with her. He came home. His mom already, like, she was waiting. She already knew. She's like, you broke up with her? He's like, yeah. Cause he had been in a relationship with her for a couple years. And that was where like his turning point happened of like, okay, I'm going to go find the Lord and get serious. And so I was in Florida, and that was where I decided, okay, I told my dad, I was like, and I didn't want to go to RBI or anything like that at the time. I was like, Dad, you know, I don't want to come home, but I don't want to go to RBI. And so he's like, well, it sounds like you need to make up your mind. So I ended up not coming back home after that. I left Canada, and I never went back home. I just like lived there, and then got an apartment, and then started school, and then did 2 years in RBI there.
Wow.
So that was, and then Mike came down a year after. So I had already gone through my first year, and then he came down because he got saved through Jonathan, like really saved. Like, you know, he has like similar story. He grew up in church, but never really like had that, but encounter. It was, yeah, that encounter. But then he got saved, and then because his mom which this was crazy too. I don't know if I've ever told you this. So my parents, the Hawaii trip that Mike and his brother John went on, that was the Hawaii trip that my parents had booked because they were going to go to Hawaii with Jonathan.
Yeah.
And then they backed out. And then Mike's mom found out that 2 people had backed out of going to the trip. So she got the 2 tickets for Mike and John to go to Hawaii.
Wild.
And so I was, so like, it was like when we matched all this up, it was so crazy. So he went there, he like 10 days there, he got radically saved. And then he went to the river, and that was it. And so we met there, and, you know, I had gone through 2 years. I was like, there's nobody here for me. I'm not getting married. There ain't nobody like I want to be with. And then when I met him, I actually, for a couple months, I didn't like him at all because he like, I was like, he irritated me because, which I mean, I've told him this since, so he knows, but like, it was, one day where we were like cleaning the church, and I was like making jokes that I wanted to go home. And he's like, you should just go home because like your heart's not in this anyway. And I like that or like I would be drinking like Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and he would be like, why don't you believe for like something a little better? And everyone would laugh because he's joking, but I got so mad because it was true. I was like, my bank account, I can't buy like this kind of coffee because my bank account, like this is $1 happy hour coffee. Like I was like, so like, but that like he had that mindset of like prosperity and like, you know, you can have like, you can have nice things. Mm-hmm. And so like, so then, you know, after he came back, or he was in school, and like we kind of like towards that last quarter, he started like sitting next to me and becoming friends with my friends and like everything like that. So we were out, a group of us were out, and he said at this time, like I liked him, and I think he liked me for sure. Yeah. But we were getting coffee, and I hadn't told like at this time I knew I was coming up here to work with Revival Today, but I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want anybody to treat me like different, because like some people had found out and they're like, oh, put in a good word for me, and I'm like, no. So I wouldn't like tell anybody, like nobody knew that I was coming up here. And he said, oh yeah, I'm going to go up for the summer and intern with Revival Today. And I was like, that's weird because I'm going up to move up there. I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. How and because he didn't know, and he's like, oh, and so we ended up like leaving to drive up here the same time, and spent that summer, and that was the summer we like dated, got engaged,
you fell in love,
and got married. So that's
amazing.
Now we're here, but that was, you know, but going back to what you were saying about when what like kind of came out of being like such an introvert was when I started going to RBI, because they would like, you had like requirements to like soul win and things like that. Yeah. And like, I remember I had never won anyone to the Lord, like just straight up, like walked up to somebody and said like, hey, and you know, let's get saved. You know, I'd never done that. And so, and I think like each quarter you had to win like 250 people.
Yeah.
And so that was like, I was so like scared at that time of like, how am I going to do this? Like, I don't even like talk to people and stuff.
Right.
And so I remember Pastor Rodney saying how he got over his fear of heights was that he went and got on a glass elevator and just rode it up and down screaming like, I am not afraid of heights, you know? And so I took that like literal. So I went to Walmart and I sat in my car screaming, I will win souls, like, and then literally hyped myself up to go into Walmart and find someone and like, and then I found someone. I led him to the Lord, led him through. I don't even know. I mean, he's just being nice, but like, I like prayed with him and I was like, okay, that's it. I did it. And then they're like, all right, do it 249 more times. And I was like, okay. And so that like really broke me out, because when I would go home to visit for Christmas, people who knew me before were like, wow, you're like really talkative and like, you're really kind of like, what happened? You just, you're not so shut in or anything like that. So like that helped break me out of that, because like I never, like it, which was funny when like we took our personality test, because like I never wanted to be introverted. I never wanted to be shy. It was just like how I grew up, and it's like, okay, this is just how things are. So this is how it is. But like at 15, I had a YouTube channel that like I was like, I'm going to be the next YouTube star. I'm going to be the next this. And like, I would make these videos that like looking back now, you know, it was like, that was like my release of like being an extrovert. Like I could yell, I could scream, I could talk to people, I could like act stupid and it'd be all right. So, but like I would never act like that in front of anyone. Like I would never do that. So that's how I learned like video editing, was making YouTube videos.
It's so cool how everything
Everything
been, like, ordained.
Totally. So then you meet your husband, and then you launch your own ministry.
Yep. So when we, like on our first date, he told me his plans and like what he feels called to do. And then I told him my plans, what I feel called to do, because he wanted to like make sure that we like match up.
Sure.
So his was, I feel called to be an evangelist, and this, and this. And I said, I feel called to be an evangelist, and this, and this. And so, which was really crazy, because my first year of RBI, I think that was when I found out about Jonathan. And I remember telling people like, before I even like had the thought, because I never thought I would like come work for Revival Today. I was like, no, I couldn't reach that point. Like that's way too like far up there. I'll just go work for like a smaller ministry or something. But I told everyone because they were like, what's your goal when you graduate? And I said, when I graduate, I want to work for an evangelistic ministry and learn the ins and outs of ministry, and also develop my skills in video editing. And I even told people I want to be the ROM of what ROM was to Revival Today. I want to go be that for a ministry. Wow. Like I had even used that example. Like I want to go be a ROM to a ministry. And then when ROM called me, he's like, so you want to come work for Revival Today? I was like, wait, what? Like I had never, like it never entered my mind. But yeah, so it was crazy how the Lord had like worked that out, because now I like get to see behind the scenes of what we feel called to do. And so last year in May, we launched MJV Ministries and started that up. And so we travel, preach, and then towards the end of last year, we started doing broadcasts and things like that, because I'm like, this is like, it's a way to reach people. It's, it's a platform, and
It all counts.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell everybody now about Yabuk.
So in the beginning of this year, during 21 days of prayer and fasting, actually, so last year in October, I had like made it a goal to write a book about being a creative in the ministry, because so many people, like myself included, like I never could find anyone that was like, I'm in the ministry and I'm a video editor and I have this eye, or like whatever, like artistic, I'm a writer, I'm a filmer, whatever it is. Like I never had like that example from like someone who was like taking it from a ministry point and a creative point, where it was like, not only can you edit videos and produce things, you can also get people saved.
Well, I think like even just the thought of that, because it's a brand new market. Like even when we were younger, they didn't have like what's available to us now. So you literally have to start from ground zero, carve your way through.
Yeah.
Because even what you do isn't like what's normal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like normal church ministries don't do that.
Yeah.
So like having this be an outlet for somebody for the upcoming generations, where now this is, you had to start from ground zero, but now that they can build on whatever it is that you've learned and all the little tidbits that you've taken from the ministry is so important.
Which is what I wanted. Like I wanted to be able to like give someone like my advice and then like have scripture to it and have like, why do you work in excellence?
Right.
You know, what does it mean to have the mind of Christ? Like, you know, because it's like you don't have, I even said like you don't have creator's block. There's no such thing as creator's block.
good.
Like the God who created everything
Yes.
lives on the inside of you. And like just like learning how to like access that, because that was like a major key for me. And like even like speaking like that, like, you know, changing the way I talk and things like that. So I was like, there's no book out there that does that.
No, you're right.
So I'm like, so I'm just going to write one.
That's good.
And so during the 21 days of prayer and fasting was when I wrote it. So Mike,
Do not wait around. Huh?
he was working in Washington at the time. So he would have to be out there at like 7 a.m. So he would drop me off here at like 6:30. Sometimes 6, and this was before like morning prayer or anything like that.
Right.
So it was like unusual for anyone to be here. And so I had like 2 to 3 hours every morning before I would clock in. And so I'm like, I'm just going to take this time and just start writing a book. And then that was literally at the end of the 21 days of prayer and fasting, it was like finished, and I sent it off to be edited and
That's
published.
amazing. That's
So it was, I mean, it was a miracle.
Cover.
I did.
Of course you did. You blow me away. That's crazy. There it
yeah.
is. Woo!
Wow.
Where can they order this?
You can get this on Amazon or on my website, saravidulich.com.
Sarah, well, y'all need to spell it. Oh, look, there. Actually, your name is right there. Sara without an H. Vidulich, Vidulich. Saravidulich.com, yeah?
Yep.
So you can get that book. It's called Stand Before Kings. What is it? How creatives get promoted in the kingdom of God.
Wow.
Let me get that book though.
You can have some.
Thank you. Also, you have gear. You have merchandise, right?
Yes, I with the book released some sweatshirts, some t-shirts, and mugs. So you can get all of that at saravidulich.com/shop.
I like that. I like that.
Listen, if she can write a book in 21 days,
Yo, I'm
time of
saying.
quarantine,
I'm
do something
saying.
very special.
I'm
do
saying.
something special
That's
during
amazing.
this time of quarantine.
Seriously.
What other word did we decide for quarantine?
Lockdown. Prison. Something that's positive, right? A positive spin. Vacation. Staycation. On your staycation, look at this with...
You know what Adeboye calls it? Compulsory holiday. That's what we're going to be calling it. From
Listen,
now.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know what compulsory is.
It's like a forced holiday.
Okay.
And a holiday in other countries is like vacation. It's a forced vacation.
Okay.
So
I like the
compulsory
forced.
vacation.
I like the forced.
Compulsory.
I like the easy peasy. Forced
Much a nicer
vacay.
word than
Forced vacay. Thank you for sharing your testimony. I want you to understand that it is so easy. I've seen so many people. I guess it all starts. The first step that you have to take in going in the direction that God has instructed for you to go to, or has called for you to go, has willed for you to, walk in, is making the decision to do it. And it doesn't start like you didn't know you were going to write a book in 21 days. You didn't know you were going to be, working with Revival Today, starting your own ministry on the side with Mike Vidulich as a husband.
Yeah.
You didn't know like all of the little details of it. When you decided in Canada that I have to break up from this toxic relationship and I need to get out of here. It's interesting that that's kind of like the vein among the people here.
Yeah.
It's like God said, go.
God said a
move,
thing,
I
and there
need
was
to go.
obedience attached to it.
There has to
Yes.
be something that you detach yourself from in order to bring that commitment into reality.
Right.
You
And
know?
there's that, and Abraham went the very next day. There's just like, everybody knew that there was a small window of opportunity.
No hesitation.
And
it was like what Rachel was saying. She had the vision of the anointing and the ministry,
The opportunity
and they
or
were
whatever.
crossing. And it's like you need to move when the opportunity arises,
Right.
Because if you didn't, like, you'd still be in Canada.
Yeah.
You'd still probably be married, maybe divorced by now with 3 kids.
Yeah.
Like cracked out because you don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just so important that you and you and the people that are listening, that you are obedient to the voice of God. We didn't have all of the answers.
Right.
We didn't have all of the details. And, you didn't have a choice in the fact that your dad passed.
Right.
You didn't have a choice in like moving yourself like throughout the entire world. You didn't have a say in that, So like you did your best with what was afforded to you. But ultimately, you decided to choose to go in the direction of the call of God on your life. Like you felt it, you sensed it, and you're like, I'm just going to go. Even though I don't really want to go to RBI, you ended up there anyway. Yeah. It's just attacking what God is telling you to do. So whatever that looks like, it's so important that you do it, and so important that you are obedient to that first step. Because from that first step comes another step, then another step, then another step. And then lo and behold, you're an author of a book with your own website, with your own podcast. Tell people what your podcast is called. Sara Vidulich?
The Sara V podcast.
The Sara V.
Made it really easy on that one.
The Sara without an H podcast. So check that out and subscribe to her podcast. Again, if you love our devotionals, when she came on board, she started editing it, and it just went on overdrive. The Pillsbury Doughboy scene, the madness, the Darth Vader, that's her. That's the creative genius you see is her. So she's got an incredible sense of humor. But I hope that does really you deciding to be in a toxic relationship could break you. It has the potential of taking you far from where God has you. And, it probably sucked. She probably didn't want to. She probably didn't want to, leave those relationships because she felt like, I'm emotionally invested. I've got like a spiritual connection with this person, or what is it called? Like a soul tie. You got soul ties with these people, and you're like, this would be heartbreaking for me, especially at such a young age, So it's like, but you did it anyway. And then you had like godly influences that were like, if you don't do it, I'm gonna do it for you. Like we're moving to Florida. Yeah. So it's like Mom. All of the things that have happened in your life is to get you to where you're at right now. Mm-hmm. And so if you're in that kind of like a weird place where you're like, I don't know what my life it looks like or what it's going to look like, but I know, but I know right now is not where I want it to be. Yeah. Like you could sense that, right? You could sense even when you were in the first relationship, you're like, this doesn't feel good. Yeah. But I'm committed. You can talk yourself into things that won't produce anything. You could have been married to that first guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you could there's so many possibilities, but because you said there's just we need to do something. There has to be a move. There has to be something that's done to get yourself out of that. And maybe the Lord's telling you to move. I don't know
whatever the frustration. If you look at frustration as a catalyst for change, then you'll understand that frustration is allowed because there's a direction that you need to move into. So during these times, take the frustration and do something about it. Get in your prayer closet.
Being frustrated doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. No. It could just be a tell-all that something has to change.
Correct.
So let's reevaluate our lives and see what we can change.
What we can change.
And whatever that is, it might be just taking yourself and just placing yourself over here.
Correct.
1,000 miles away. I don't know. But the thing is, you need to take a stand and say, I'm going to be one-sided about, where I'm at with the Lord, and I'm going to go, I will pursue it. Yeah. And I'm not going to have anything. And I'm now talking more so to the people that are in these toxic relationships, like Mikey was. Mikey, her husband, he was probably in a toxic relationship. You know what I mean? So it was like, but you're invested. He's Italian. He's been with her for 4 years. I don't know how many years.
3 or 4.
Yeah, something like that. I don't even know. It could have been 15 years. That's not something that would have been easy for him to do, is just up and move from Queens to freaking Florida. Mm-hmm. That's not, but you do it And you see, you reap the benefit of just being one-sided when it came to Patrick and saying, I'm done drinking. Show me. And God will show you if you make those steps of obedience and say, listen, I'm sacrificing something here. I'm sacrificing, and it might even be just your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. People don't want to venture out into the world because of the unknown. I don't know what it's going to be like living in Florida. I don't know what it's going to be like, moving to California or Chicago or wherever the heck, the Lord is telling you to move to. But you got to push past that and come to the realization that if you want to be successful, if you want to do what God has called you to do, it's not going to be like you choose every single route. And it's going to look how perfectly what you have in mind. You know what I mean? Like that just doesn't, I've not met anybody who from the very beginning was like, this is what I'm going to do. It's my way. I'm going to go this way. No, there was always a sacrifice that had to be made in order to follow the call in God's perfect plan. But the sacrifice is so little compared to the blessing that's on the other side. You look back on it and you think, this ain't no sacrifice. This was the easiest thing that's the best decision that I could have done, is to follow the plans that God has for me. And Shirley just said it, just ordered the book. Can't wait. Yeah. Is this available on like Kindle? Mm-hmm. It is.
Mm-hmm. It's on Kindle.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. Sarah. She works in excellence. So get yourself this book, Stand Before Kings. And again, it's SaraVidulich.com. SaraVidulich. And if that's you, and you know.
Do you have any copies in the office?
I can get some.
If you know that you need to get out of this relationship, you need to move forward in the direction that God has for you, I need you to take a stand today. I need you to be one-sided. Mommy and daddy, like she said, mommy and daddy can't go with me where I'm past this point. I've been riding their coattails for too long. Now I have to stand up and say, you know what? This is what I believe in. This is what I will attack. This is what I'm walking into.
People need to desire their own encounter that will mark them for the rest of their lives. And I think that this
that's the word, Magali.
Time for an encounter.
Magali. Mm-hmm. That's the word.
You need to get into your quiet spot, in your hiding place, in your secret closet, whatever it is. And you need to desire an encounter from God that will mark you for the rest of your life. Do that today.
Do that. And if you've never made that commitment, and you got to get out of this relationship, I want you to go ahead and text that person right now. I'll wait. Go and text that person right now and say that you and me, we can't be. Mm-hmm. Make a poem out of it. You and me, we can't be. Yeah. I'll see you when I see you. I don't know. Just be creative. You don't have to be creative. You could just give them a call and be like, this ain't working out. I'm sorry.
Our relationship needs the social distance.
Exactly. This social distancing has made me come to the realization that we need to socially distance our relationship forever, not just 6 feet apart. So I'm telling you, you need to get rid of the people that are they're toxic for you. You just don't know, because it just like stirred something up, and you're like, oh, it just hits you that right way, because that is not the person that God has for you. So I want you to go ahead and in this time of forced vacation, go ahead and just detach yourself from those toxic relationships that are going to hold you back and keep you down. No, there is no time for that. Jesus is coming. I'm telling you what, Jesus is coming. So I want you to live holy, and I want you to be one-sided about what it is God has for your life. There's no time to waste. You might be wondering what the heck to do. Why am I in this? I feel stagnant. I'm frustrated. You got to drop off the dead weight. No offense to him or her, but you got to drop them off. And then just move towards that direction and say, God, I'm sacrificing this relationship because I want you. I want you to speak to me. I want to be used by you. Tell me what to do. And he will tell you what to do. Amen. And if you know that you need to get your life right with the Lord, Sarah's going to lead you in a prayer because she's a soul winner. She just led her DoorDash guy, her Uber delivery guy to the Lord the other day. I want her to pray for you.
Be Jesus.
I want her to pray for you. It is time to get your life right with the Lord. And I know you guys have kind of been reflecting in your head because you've been in this forced vacation, but it's time. It's time to make the moves, and it's time. Listen, if she hadn't made that move to let go of those relationships, she would not be here today. Yeah. As happy as can be with a daggone book. I mean, an author. Huh? So I want her to pray for you. Go ahead.
Father, I thank you, Lord, that you are making yourself real to people right now. Lord, that you are revealing to people who they need to cut out, what they need to cut out. Father, that you're revealing to them that they haven't gone too far. Lord, that they're not too far into something that they can't back out of, that they can't overcome. Father, the same way that you showed up in my life when I was 18 and pulled me out, Father, and set me on high. Lord, that you turned what the enemy meant to destroy my life for a testimony. You will do it for everybody else.
Yes, you will.
So I thank you, Lord, that you give them the strength. Father, that you give them the words to say. Lord, that you give them the wisdom of what they need to do. Father, that they don't rely on anybody. Father, that if it's a woman, Father, that she doesn't rely on that man, but she relies on you as her source, Father, that you will financially cover them, Father, that you will protect them, Lord, that you will be about them. So, Father, whatever the case is, Lord, that you are revealing it to them now, and I thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Receive that. Receive that today, and make the commitment to serve God fully. And I'm telling you, you are not going to lose. I'm telling you, you won't lose. And if you know of anybody who's in that type of a scenario and you know this person is not the right one, I want you to tag them. I want you to send this over to them. You don't have to put them on blast. You can do a little message, you know, you know what I mean? But do what you can to let them know. There's no time to waste. And God has something so perfect for you. Mike and Sara, I mean, they're perfect for each other. They are amazing. And I can't wait to see what your kids are going to look like. It's going to be like a blonde, like Arnold Schwarzenegger,
my prayer is just that they have blue eyes.
Yeah, okay,
just inherit my blue eyes.
Yeah.
Not that his eyes are, brown eyes, they're great. And it's like very like Italian.
Very well could be.
So I'm just like, Lord.
Do it. Speak it out.
blue
Everything
eyes.
you've spoken has come to pass. So go ahead and speak that. Speak that out. But anyway, we love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Jonathan's going to be in shortly, 30 minutes less or whatever. So come back. I love you. Share this testimony. Share your testimony. Amen. God bless. Peace. Deuces. Good job, Sarah.
Hey, this is Jonathan Shuttlesworth. I want to thank you for listening to my podcast. If you're listening to my wife's, thank you on her behalf. If you want to be more than just a casual listener and stand with us as we take the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ to our generation, go to revivaltoday.com and click Give Now and be a part of the 1,000 monthly partners that we're believing for. I have a special gift that I'll send to you today, and I'll say thank you in advance. Until next time, thanks for listening. See you later.